welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are exploring the world of credit scores and financial health, and trust me, things are getting interesting.
That's right.
We're not just talking about three little digits. We're talking about a whole new landscape with surprising updates to credit reporting and tools that can actually help you build a stronger financial future.
It's about understanding what these scores mean for your real-life goals, like avoiding predatory lending practices and accessing financial services that can help you build wealth.
Okay, let's dive right in. First up, medical debt.
Yeah.
Something I know weighs heavily on a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the good news is, the way medical debt is factored into your credit score has gotten a major makeover.
What's fascinating here is that the credit reporting system is finally recognizing that medical debt is different.
Right.
It often pops up due to unexpected events, not necessarily irresponsible spending habits. As a result, the vast majority of medical collections, we're talking over 70%, have been removed from credit reports altogether.
Wow, over 70%. Now that's a game changer. So what does this mean for someone who maybe had a medical bill go to collections but eventually paid it off?
If you've paid off a medical collection, it's completely wiped from your credit report.
Okay.
And for those smaller medical debts under $500, they're not even included anymore.
Got it.
Plus, even larger medical debts don't show up on your report until they've been in collections for a full year.
Oh, wow.
This gives you more breathing room to sort out billing errors or insurance disputes without your credit taking an immediate hit.
So instead of stressing about every little medical bill, you're saying it's smarter to prioritize paying down those larger collections over $500 first to really move the needle on your score.
Exactly. And this extra time before it hits your report, it's valuable.
Yeah.
Use it to advocate for yourself with billing departments and insurance companies.
Right.
Don't be afraid to negotiate payment plans or dispute errors. It can really pay off in the long run.
All right, so medical debt has definitely lost some of its white.
Yeah.
But what about the flip side? What are some new tools that can actually help boost your credit score?
Here's where it gets really interesting. We're seeing the rise of alternative data in credit scoring.
Okay.
Think things like your rent payments, utility bills, even streaming services like Netflix.
Wait, paying my Netflix bill on time could actually help my credit.
Yeah.
That seems almost too good to be true.
Well, 2 out of 3 people see a real improvement in their score by using these tools.
Wow.
Experian, one of the big credit bureaus, has a free program called Experian Boost. You connect your bank account, and it identifies eligible payments, and boom, potential instant impact on your score. It's especially powerful for people with thinner credit files or scores below 680.
So for those just starting out or rebuilding their credit, it sounds like this could be a great option to explore.
Right.
But isn't there a risk to sharing all that financial data with a third party?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
While Experian Boost has security measures in place, it's always wise to carefully review the terms and conditions of any service before sharing your financial data.
Okay.
Weigh the potential benefits against the level of access you're granting and decide what feels right for you.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
So we've got medical debt becoming less of a factor and new opportunities to boost our scores with alternative data.
Right.
What other shifts are happening in the world of credit scoring?
Well, there's also a change in how some scoring models are approaching credit in general.
Okay.
VantageScore, for example, is moving away from fixating on percentages for each credit factor and instead highlighting the actions you can take to build good credit over time.
So instead of stressing about whether payment history counts for 35% or 30%, what's VantageScore focusing on?
They're emphasizing things like responsible credit utilization, keeping your credit card balances low, and having a diverse credit mix, meaning using different types of credit like credit cards and installment loans. They're basically saying, here's what you can actually do to build good credit habits that will pay off in the long run.
This seems like valuable advice, especially for younger generations who might be new to managing credit.
Absolutely.
But it's still crucial to avoid those late payments, right? One slip-up can still send your score plummeting.
Absolutely. Payment history remains king, even with these evolving models.
Yeah.
Consistent on-time payments are the bedrock of a good credit score.
So it's a balancing act.
Right.
Building good habits while avoiding those critical missteps.
Yeah.
What I find so interesting about all this is that it really seems like the world of credit scoring is getting more sophisticated.
Yes.
It's moving beyond just a snapshot of your financial history and looking at things more holistically.
You're right. And it's exciting because these innovations have the potential to empower individuals and make the financial system more inclusive and accessible.
I agree. I think that's a great place to pause for now,
Yeah.
and we'll pick up the conversation in our next installment of the Deep Dive.
That's good.
We were just talking about how the world of credit scoring seems to be getting more sophisticated, taking a more holistic view of a person's financial life.
Right.
Are there other examples of that?
Absolutely. We're seeing new scores emerge like FICO 10 and FICO XD that incorporate data beyond the traditional credit report.
Oh, this is where it gets really futuristic. What kind of data are we talking about?
FICO 10, for instance, analyzes your financial behavior over time, not just a snapshot.
Okay.
So even if you had a few bumps in the road financially, if you demonstrate responsible behavior over the long term, those positive trends can actually work in your favor.
So past missteps won't necessarily hold you back if you're showing positive trends now. That's really encouraging. What about FICO XD? What makes it unique?
FICO XD is designed for those considered credit invisible, meaning they haven't used traditional credit products and don't have a conventional credit history. It assesses creditworthiness by looking at alternative data sources like bank account, data utility payments, even telecom bills.
So it's like saying even if you haven't used credit cards or loans, you can still build a credit history by showing you can manage your everyday finances responsibly.
Precisely. It's all about expanding access to credit and recognizing that responsible financial behavior takes many forms.
Okay. With all this talk about alternative data, I have to ask, what about those rumors of social media being used for credit scoring? Is that actually happening?
Not in the U.S., at least.
No.
While some countries are experimenting with that idea, it's nowhere near being incorporated into credit reports here.
There's no need to worry about that late-night tweet storm tanking my credit score, few.
Exactly. The focus here is on using data directly related to your financial behavior and with proven predictive power.
Good to know. Now let's switch gears to something I know a lot of people are curious about, buy now, pay later programs.
Yeah.
They're everywhere these days. But how are they impacting credit reporting?
That's the million-dollar question. It's a bit of a wild west out there right now. Credit bureaus are working on how to incorporate BNPL data into credit reports, but it's largely unregulated and its impact on your score is still unclear.
So while these programs can seem convenient, it sounds like we need to proceed with caution.
Absolutely. Until there's more clarity on reporting and regulations, it's best to treat BNPL programs with the same level of responsibility as any other credit product.
Speaking of things that can be a little murky, let's clear up some confusion about public records on credit reports.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of changes in this area lately.
You're right. Most public records, with the exception of bankruptcy, have been removed from credit reports.
Okay.
This means things like tax liens and civil judgments no longer directly impact your credit score.
That's a significant change. Does that mean lenders can't see this information at all anymore?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
While it won't show up on your credit report from the major bureaus, other data aggregators may still collect this information, and lenders can access it during application reviews.
So it's not a free pass. While it may not directly hit your credit score, it's still important to be mindful of public records and address any issues proactively.
Exactly. It's always best to be upfront with lenders about any potential red flags in your financial history.
It's amazing how much the credit landscape has evolved even in the past few years. It feels like there's a whole new set of rules to learn.
It's true. The world of credit is constantly changing.
Yeah.
But what's so fascinating is that it's becoming more nuanced and personalized, taking a more comprehensive view of a person's financial life.
And that feels like a positive step towards creating a fairer and more accessible financial system for everyone.
I agree. By understanding these changes and taking advantage of the new tools and resources available, individuals can empower themselves and take control of their financial well-being.
Speaking of empowerment, we've covered a ton of ground already. What other insights do we have in store for our listeners as we wrap up this deep dive? We've been unpacking all these fascinating changes in the credit world, from the impact of medical debt reform to the rise of alternative data and how scoring models are evolving. It feels like a whole new ballgame out there.
It's true, the landscape is shifting rapidly, but knowledge is power, and by understanding these changes, you can make informed decisions to improve your financial well-being.
Exactly. So for our listeners who are ready to take action, what are some practical steps they can take to navigate this new credit landscape and boost their credit health?
First and foremost, check your credit report regularly.
Okay.
You can access it for free from each of the 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, once a year through annualcreditreport.com. Take some time to review your report carefully, look for any errors or inaccuracies, and dispute them promptly.
So many people don't realize how common errors are on credit reports. It's definitely worth taking that time to double check. And what about payment history?
Yep.
We talked about how crucial it is for a good credit score. Any tips for staying on top of payments and avoiding those costly late fees?
Absolutely. Set reminders, automate payments, or find a system that works for you. The key is to avoid late payments at all costs. Remember, consistent on-time payments are the bedrock of a good credit score.
Great advice. We also discussed Experian Boost and how it can help add positive payment history for things like rent and utilities. Would you recommend that everyone use this tool?
It's a great option to explore, especially for those with a limited credit history or scores below 680. It's free, easy to use, and can potentially give your score a boost. However, as with any service that involves sharing your financial data, it's crucial to review the terms and conditions carefully and weigh the potential benefits against the level of access you're granting.
So it's all about making informed choices that align with your personal comfort level. Now, what about credit utilization?
Right.
We touched on it briefly earlier, but can you explain why it's so important and how to keep it in check?
Credit utilization is the amount of credit you're using compared to your total available credit. The lower your utilization, the better aim to keep it below 30%, and even lower if possible. For example, if you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit, try to keep your balance below $3,000.
It sounds like a simple concept, but it can have a big impact on your score. And remember, it's not just about one card. It's about your overall utilization across all your credit accounts.
Precisely, it's about managing your credit responsibly and demonstrating that you're not overextending yourself financially.
Speaking of responsible credit management, let's revisit those buy now, pay later programs we talked about earlier. Any tips for using them wisely and minimizing any potential negative impact on your credit?
Since BNPL regulation and reporting are still in flux, my advice is to treat them like any other credit product. Make sure you understand the terms and conditions, including interest rates and late fees, before you sign up. Most importantly, only use them for purchases you can afford to repay on time.
It's easy to get caught up in the convenience of these programs, but it's crucial to be mindful of the potential consequences. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on something we discussed earlier, the upcoming resumption of student loan payments. Any last-minute advice for borrowers as they prepare for this transition?
Don't panic, first and foremost. Reach out to your loan servicer and confirm your repayment details. Make sure you understand your monthly payment amount due date and any options for deferment or income-driven repayment plans.
It's so important to be proactive and gather all the necessary information. Don't wait until the last minute to sort this out.
Exactly. And if you anticipate having difficulty making your payments, contact your loan servicer as soon as possible. They may be able to work with you to create a more manageable repayment plan. Remember, communication is key.
This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've explored every nook and cranny of the credit world. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they embark on their own financial journeys?
Your financial journey is unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach. But by staying informed, being proactive, and making responsible choices, you can take control of your credit and build a brighter financial future.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. Thank you for joining us on this journey of financial discovery. Remember, knowledge is power, and we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep taking charge of your financial well-being. Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.